Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I am doing a museum build. Now the story for this museum build is actually quite entertaining to me, considering I had just watched the Jurassic Park films and was really enjoying the building style, I guess, in those, and I was like, wow, it would be so cool if I was able to just recreate some of the weird structures that they have at the park in the first movie specifically, because, you know, I think that's the best movie. Obviously, everyone says that, but it's pretty true. I mean, the newer ones are pretty good. I've watched every single movie. I have an addiction, but I do really enjoy the first movie, I think, the best. So anyway, I was originally making this build to make the visitor center from the first movie where the big banner is and all that stuff in that final fight scene. The visitor center is also for sure in the third movie because they are going back to save that kid who goes missing. However, moral of the story here is I did not make that. I tried really hard, especially here where I'm trying to figure out how to get a roof to look right. I tried really hard to get it dead on to make it look a lot like it, and then about here is when I decided that I didn't think I was going to be able to do it. And if I want to do the build, I want to dedicate a lot of time to it and be able to make it look really, really good and pretty accurate. So I decided I would just do something sort of similar, since there are technically artifacts in that museum, in that visitor center, but I decided to just go with a museum build. It's kind of a walk-it-yourself museum, you know, one where like, you know, which you start on one specific side, it kind of wraps around the whole building, and then you leave, and it's kind of a whole experience. So I tried to do that to the best of my abilities. I am ultimately pretty sad that I couldn't get the visitor center from Jurassic Park. I will consider doing the builds another time, because I do really want to build more builds like that, and I think that one would be really fun for me. Anyway, for this build, I do make one small bathroom here, which you can see me doing. It's pretty simple, you know, I figured you probably would have one, realistically, in a museum. I think if I live in a sort of bigger city, but I think if you were in a smaller town type museum, it would definitely have one bathroom, not, you know, a bunch of random stalls, so I went with a one bathroom approach. And here I made a little check-in desk. I wasn't really sure what to decorate it with. I ended up using that little magazine-looking rack to kind of be pamphlets, you know, when you go to a museum and they have all those pamphlets there, maybe about the city that you're in, or just about what's in the museum, what exhibits are on display. So I wanted that to be there to kind of look like there was more stuff to grab when you walk in. I was also debating doing a gift shop, but because I made a circle and really wanted to try out making a circle, I wasn't able to make an effective gift shop, so I just kind of avoided that altogether. I also started this side over here with kind of like the jungle adventure stuff. I figured that stuff looked a lot more like beginning of time kind of stuff. I know that's a weird thing to think, but I was thinking it looked more like the beginning of a museum, like with tribes and all that kind of stuff being talked about. So that was my choice for the first section of this museum. I do really enjoy the Jungle Adventure Pack, low-key. All of the items worked really well, especially in this museum build, but I thought, like, overall the items are just really nice looking, especially for this. I do also wrap most of the areas around those exhibits in some ropes, because I wanted it to look a lot more authentic, like an actual museum where you're not really supposed to touch anything. So I used those red ropes to do it, and I think it actually turned out really nice. I was worried that the red would look too cheesy, I guess, but I think it fits really well. And here I am just filling out more of the space with more of these, like, Aztec-looking items. I don't know if that's really what that would be, but to me it reminds me of original tribes that used to live in different places across the world. Also, because of the Get Famous pack, there are a lot of sets and set pieces that I thought worked really well, and I wanted to have like a big exhibit, so that's why you saw me messing around with all the different sets, because I wasn't really sure what size would fit best and what I should put in there, but I really wanted the saloon, so I do end up putting a saloon on the one side. There's just a lot of options, so I was looking through them for quite a while trying to figure out what would look the best there. But I did decide that the Western theme should be in the middle since I felt like they had a lot more Western prop type items that I could use for this little fire campsite thing. I also changed the floor there and the walls to make it look more like outdoorsy, like I figured they would in a real museum. I wanted it to look pretty authentic, like they really set it up to show some stuff off. I also decided that this inner wall here too should also, I was thinking originally it should be Western themed, but then I went with the idea of like colonizing, which is kind of horrible, but I was thinking like maybe they, it's Sims, make up my own background story, but maybe they sailed across the sea and they found this new land and then became Western, so I did put this nice little, seafaring theme so that there was kind of a natural progression to the way the museum looked, because I really wanted it to look like you were going through time. I love museums that do that. I think those are personally the better museums, ones where you're like feeling like you're really invested in what's going on. And here I am pretty much just filling out the walls and putting on these lights, because the lights, those specific theater lights, look really good and really put a good shine on the items. And I felt like that was really important, because if you're in a museum, obviously that stuff is way more lit up than the other stuff in the whole thing. And I always feel like museums are weirdly dark. I know in this specific one, because of the way I designed it, there are no windows, which probably would have made it less dark. But I don't know, I was trying to think back, and I don't know if I've ever noticed windows in a museum. I mean, obviously that's not my main looking point. I don't walk around museums purposely searching for windows or anything. But I was just wondering, do museums have windows in their big exhibition areas? Like, obviously if it's a middle room, they don't. But, I mean, I've been in museums where they have like whole sets and you really feel like you're there, and I just can't picture a single window. I mean, I know there's gotta be museums out there with a window. So maybe, let me know in the comments if you have a museum you love to go to that has a lot of windows. I just feel like it's not a museum thing. Anyway, that's my museum window rant over. Here I am building the modern times thing. I thought there was a lot of items that really could fit the museum vibe, so I ended up just putting a lot of random crap in here, sort of, and using the modernist approach, so all that stuff is like from current times, going to the moon and stuff. There's that little astronaut section I made. I also put like the royal sets here because I thought that looks pretty nice too, and maybe there's royalty in this town. Who knows? It is what it is. Make it up as you go. I also found it hard to fill these last spaces, so there is just some modern art at the end, because I felt like there was always, at museums there's always like weird art stuff and art installations. So I felt like putting some modern art on that end wall would make it look really nice. I also ended up having to put an easel in the build to actually make it a museum lot, because otherwise it doesn't technically count as a museum. Feel free to get rid of that. I don't think the easels look very good in that corner, but I did want it to actually make the museum lot a museum. So, thank you guys so much for watching. Again, thank you to everyone who keeps watching and liking and sharing my videos. I really, really appreciate you. If you want to hear more window museum rants, feel free to subscribe to me. And make sure you like and comment on this video and tell me how you feel about the museum. Again, thank you guys so much for watching.